Welcome everybody to this edition of apps.com webinar brought to you by Intuit Academy and apps.com. My name is Hector Garcia and I will be showcasing CRM apps, customer relationship management apps that work with QuickBooks Online. Primarily we're going to be working with three specific apps, Batchbook, Legrand, and Method, and I'm going to walk you through how they're different, how they can work for your practice, how they can work for your customers if you happen to be an accounting professional. So we're going to go through all that. Let me introduce myself. So my name is Hector Garcia. I work and live in Miami, Florida. I'm a pro advisor. I teach QuickBooks and Excel in my own classroom down here in Miami. And I'm a co-presenter of the QB Power Hour, and my main website or blog is qbblog.com. I write a lot about QuickBooks Desktop, QuickBooks Online, apps, all sorts of things. So go ahead and check me out. I was also a guest speaker at QB Connect last year in October, and hopefully I'll be able to be a speaker this year as well. And on the very last slide, we'll show you instructions on how to find out about QB Connect 2015. All right, so today's learning objectives are going to be to understand how to navigate apps.com, how to pick and choose and add applications to your QuickBooks Online from apps.com. We're going to talk about the functionality of the specific CRM apps. We're going to talk about how to save time and improve communication within your customers, which is really what the purpose of the CRM app is, and identify which type of clients would benefit from these apps. So if you happen to be an accounting professional or a consultant, you may want to think about recommending these as a consulting opportunity. If you are a small business owner attending this webinar, then very important to think about adding this to your business. And even if you're an accounting professional not consulting with your clients, I think you also are a small business owner, so you need to think about having a system in place to control all the communication with your clients. So let's talk about apps in itself. So QuickBooks in itself is a core accounting application. We did a recorded webinar on this link here, so if you want to write it down, where we talk about the introduction to apps, which is recommended if you've never ever used an app with QuickBooks before. If this will be your first app, you'll be connecting one of these CRM apps. I recommend you go watch this video because it's got real good introduction about how apps work. In context, what's an app? An app is an application designed to perform a specific function that QuickBooks is not necessarily designed to do. In some cases, apps are doing very similar things than QuickBooks, like creating an invoice in some other system. However, they tend to specialize on transactions that are beyond core accounting. So in a CRM type of app, we're going to be dealing with stuff like customer conversations, that has nothing to do with core accounting. But the one thing that they have in common, the common denominator between these third-party apps and QuickBooks is typically the customer. We have that in common, or the employee name, or the sales rep, or the invoice amount. All these types of information are relevant to the functions across different responsibilities within the company. So it's important to have a system that talks to each other, or multiple systems that talk to each other, instead of having to copy and paste or duplicate the data entry. So the idea behind apps is to use your core accounting database, like your customer list and your vendor list and your invoice list, and do other tasks without having to re-enter those, without having to rekey them. Now, some apps are platforms in themselves. So the very last app we'll show you, Method, is a platform in itself, and you can actually build things within these apps. However, most of them, the whole idea is that they connect with QuickBooks, right? Okay, so why apps? I get this question all the time. People say, Hector, if Intuit is such a huge company, such a great programmer of software, QuickBooks is such a successful software, why isn't QuickBooks developing these functions in-house? So why is Intuit resorting to a third-party developer to create an app to create that, when Intuit could just very well and very easily develop the app? And in my opinion, I'm not an Intuit employee, but in my opinion, what I've observed from watching Intuit's behavior and as a QuickBooks Pro advisor that's a partner of Intuit, I think Intuit is trying to focus their efforts into making sure QuickBooks Online is a reliable, scalable, open platform for small business to operate on. So the core accounting functions, yes, that's what makes QuickBooks QuickBooks. However, if you bloat QuickBooks Online with all these other functions, it may not be as reliable, scalable, and definitely not an open platform. So therefore, we allow the genius of third-party developers. We allow the genius of the collective intelligence of the entire world that wants to concentrate in fulfilling a micro need to a particular customer type, a particular industry, in this dynamic world of small business and obviously worldwide and all these different needs and all these different industries. It's going to be much better and much easier to allow QuickBooks to be its core accounting and allow the third-party program to develop these micro niche products. Okay, on to the apps. We're going to talk about these 3 specific apps. One is called Batchbook CRM. The second one is called Legrand Cloud CRM, and there's 2 versions of Legrand. There's a desktop enterprise version, and then there's a cloud version. We're going to focus on the cloud version because that's the one that talks to QuickBooks Online, and then METHODCRM. Those are the 3 applications that we're going to be looking at. So let's talk about what CRM stands for. CRM means Customer Relationship Manager or Customer Relationship Management. And what that does in a nutshell, it's a system where you manage your customer interactions, manage conversations, manage negotiations, manage estimates, right? Keep track of how many times the customer called back to change the price or change the order, manage potential sales or deals, take care of tasks related to customers and activities related to customers, and most importantly, manage your pipeline of upcoming business. Right? That's, in a nutshell, that's at a very high level what CRM means. Now, why use a third-party app for CRM? Why not just put notes in the customer in QuickBooks and manage it that way? Well, most importantly is customer information that QuickBooks is not designed to track, like how many conversations you have with the customer, or when did they call and what time and what ad did they respond to, what email did they respond to, what postcard mailing did they respond to. All this type of intelligence, it's really cumbersome to aggregate in QuickBooks Online in just the notes. So you want to have a system that systematically puts these things together. Also, you want to integrate information like social media, email. So we're going to talk about how these different apps interact with emails and social media to really save you time. One really cool thing about having a third-party CRM app is you can have a whole bunch of employees. You can have 100 employees, salespeople, dealing with customers and recording conversations and recording deals and recording emails and recording issues and cases and resolutions. And none of them touch QuickBooks, right? So you're not limited to how many people can access QuickBooks because the only thing that QuickBooks and the CRM system could do is share the customer list. Now, the other important thing is you can manage lead information, not customers, but leads. These are people that you're speaking to, companies that you're speaking to, potential customers you're speaking to, and you want to have estimates and you want to have recordings of these conversations, but you don't want to clutter the customer list in QuickBooks Online, or you just want to have an entirely separate database for that. So that's really the value of having a CRM application that talks to QuickBooks, but it's a third-party application. All right, so back to the 3 applications, Batchbook, Legrand, and CRM. So first of all, let me summarize what they have in common. So what is the one thing that any of these 3 apps, because this is a webinar designed to take you through 3 of them. These are not the only 3. There's a lot more CRM apps. These are just the ones that we chose to put together. And we are comparing them, but we're not really trying to make you pick one or the other. We're really trying to illustrate in what circumstances one will work better than a different circumstance. So what they have in common is they both sync the customer list in QuickBooks, and they sync balances in QuickBooks, right? Customer owes me this much, and that's all synced in all the applications. They allow you to manage leads. These are non-QuickBooks customers, and they can be separate than QuickBooks. So you have a layer of protection to not have the leads be converted to customers until you actually have a real transaction. They all allow you to track activities, tasks, conversations, things that give you a good history of the kind of relationship you're having with that customer. So when it comes down to close the deal, having a list of all the conversations you had and everything they spoke about to every single person in your organization helps you close the deal or helps you get closer to closing that deal. Also, all of them have the ability to assign or delegate a lead to another user. So the concept of collaboration is very important. You can have one person take the phone call put a note and say, okay, well, Sally is the one that needs to close this deal. Assign it to Sally. And then Sally calls the client, closes the deal, and she assigns it to Hector, which actually does the work. And then Hector, at the end of the day, does the work, completes the task, sends it back to Sally, so Sally can send the customer the invoice, and they can let know the first person that took the phone call that the cycle closed. And then that's really where collaboration really, really comes into play. All right, let's see what's unique about each of them. So once I told you first what they all have in common, and that's just sort of in a high level. What they are unique, right? So what one does that the other one doesn't do is, for example, the first one, Batchbook. What's very unique about it is Batchbook was built around social media. So the concept of conceptually, Batchbook says, well, if your customer has a Twitter account and a Facebook account, and they're also in your event list, and they're also in your mass mail newsletter list, it would be interesting to have history of what they've been talking about in their social media together with the stuff that they've been talking about with you. It's kind of interesting concept. Legrand has a very simple interface. Oops, that's misspelled there. Let me just change that to a F real quick, or maybe not. Hold on one second. Okay, that's interface with an F, sorry. Okay, it's very simple. It's easy to use right out of the box. There's not a lot of configuration you need to do with Legrand. Activities, calendars, and opportunities are right on the contact screen. So it's actually a very easy to maneuver tool. Okay, out of the three, it's the most core CRM CRM system of them all. And Method, what's interesting about Method is it was built for QuickBooks, right? So when the Method programmers put the system together, they said, we're going to build a CRM app for QuickBooks. So every single aspect of the CRM was built around the QuickBooks fields. What data from QuickBooks we can grab and put in the CRM system, and what data from the CRM system we can grab and send back to QuickBooks. That's really what makes it very unique. The other piece is Method has the ability to create transactions in Method. So you can create purchase orders, you can create invoices, you can create almost pretty much every QuickBooks transaction you can do it in CRM and then transfer it over. And with that said, that it's fully customizable. So you can choose what you want the screens to look like and what kind of information is the one you want to transfer back and forth. So Method is the one that you can really scale to something very highly customized to a particular business need beyond the CRM application. Okay, I'm going to talk about CRM 101. So we're going to talk about some terminology. If any of you are sort of new to CRM, we're gonna go through these real quick. But before I do that, let me do a polling question. And then while I do the polling question, I also get a chance to look at any questions or any comments that people may have. So I'm going to launch the first polling question. So we'll give it about a minute to get your answers.
No questions at this time, Hector.
Thank you, Amy. So we got about 70% of the votes in. Okay, we'll give it about 10 more seconds to get those votes in. So we're about 65-35 is about the percentage. So I'll share these results with you real quick. So about 64% answer yes, 36% answer no. So this is using QuickBooks Online for your own practice. Thank you. All right, so let's talk about some CRM terminology 101. And it's important to go through this because we're going to be talking about some of these things while we do the slides. So I'm going to go through this real quick. So in CRM, typically a customer in the context of QuickBooks would be a customer that's also in QuickBooks. It would be somebody that you already do business with, you already have it in your database, have somebody that you've done at least one invoice to or at least one transaction with. Lead or contact is typically something that you work before you close a deal, and you keep track of these potential customers, of these leads. Company and organization is typically used where you have multiple contacts within a company, or you have one company that's your client, but you may have multiple individuals in that company that are buying from you, and you want to keep track of who you're speaking to about these particular deals. Anytime you see the word activity or communication, it's really taking a look at a conversation log, an email log, a call log. Anything that says to do, task or calendar is typically an actual task, an actual responsibility that needs to be completed, and there will be a date of completion, which gives you a nice reporting feature so you can see what's due tomorrow, what's due next week, that sort of thing. And then typically anything with notes or comments is exactly what it says. It's just for you to free type notes or comments. Anything with the word opportunity or deal is for you to put in a potential transaction. So put in there, next week we're going to sell this person this, or next week we're going to close this contract for that, and that's the idea behind that. And again, that's for the purpose of doing a report of pipeline, you know, how much business is coming next month, next week, etc. Then things like tag or campaign are typically used for you to segregate your customers or your leads based on maybe where they came from. You know, did they come from Google? Did they come from a postcard? Were they recommended by another customer? This also provides really good information about maybe the pricing that we're going to give them or how much time we're going to spend doing a quote, depending on where they came from. That will give you some insights about how you will work. Anything that says assign or delegate is basically for you to pick one of your other users and say, hey, you know what, follow up with them. And then it puts them on their task list, right? Or it may put an opportunity there as well. And anything with the word case, solution, ticket issues, this is more for customer service, right? So CRM is not just for sales. It could also be for maintaining your current customers, right? So our business is not only about getting new customers, it's about maintaining your current ones. So that could be a good place for you to manage these conversations and the resolutions to their issues. Okay, so let's jump into Batchbook. I'll stop for questions. Let me just check real quick, see if there's any questions so far. No, I don't think there is one.
Hector, there's one question about
Sure.
Which of the three CRMs are any of them entirely cloud-based?
So all three of them are entirely cloud-based. Okay. However, Legrand has a desktop option that is really for you to sync it with QuickBooks Desktop. But in the context here, all three of these are cloud-based, or at least we're focusing on the cloud-based features. Okay, so let's start with Batchbook. Batchbook is the social CRM. Okay, it's all about managing customers, but also the twist to it, which is what makes it unique. It's also about the social media, right? It's about, you know, what is that customer saying in Twitter? Why is that customer saying in Facebook? You know, how is the stuff that they're saying related to my business? You know, could I get more intelligence from knowing what my customers are, like if my customers are following a certain company and I happen to be a representative of that company, maybe I want to reach out to them and say, hey, I see you follow them. By the way, I also resell products for them. Would you like to talk about something that I can sell you? Or something, you know, obviously I'm just trying to provide some examples of how social media would be useful. Social media is nowadays one of the contacts. I've received a lot of customer requests from LinkedIn and from Facebook. So people say this is kind of an interesting, different concept. CRM is typically not a social media thing, but this is exactly what I'm saying. You know, it's a great conversation starter. Let's say you've been speaking to this person for 3 months about closing a big deal, a big contract in something, and then all of a sudden you call them to follow up and you say, hey, I want to follow up on the last conversation we had, and the person says, well, I haven't decided yet. And then you make a comment like, hey, I saw that you wrote an article about you know, being more efficient at work. I thought that was pretty interesting. And then all of a sudden that person says, wait a second, this person's actually caring about what I'm saying and what I'm doing. Maybe I should listen to them more. And they say, oh, thank you for you know, complimenting me on the article. I'm glad you liked it. You know what? Let's talk about your deal. You know, I'm not saying it works like that every single time. Obviously, that's sort of a best case scenario. But typically, when you show interest up front on what people are saying, and nowadays people are very verbose about how they feel and what and the things that they bought and the things that they're doing. So having them in social media could give you really good insights about their needs and wants. Okay, what are the high-level features of Batchbook? One, allows you to sync your contacts in Google+, Gmail, Eventbrite, Facebook, Twitter, QuickBooks, and others, right? So it has the core things like Gmail and QuickBooks, but also has other social media components. You can convert a Batchbook contact from Batchbook to QuickBooks pretty easy. You can forward emails to a special mailbox. Like, for example, in my account, the sample account that I created, if I get an email from somebody, I can forward it to this email address, which I'll just save, and then basically that conversation gets attached to the customer. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And also it uses keyword tags, kind of like the way Gmail works for filtering and searching. I'm going to show you a couple of screenshots before I jump in product. So this is basically my customer a screenshot here. It gives me the information of my customer. It tells me how much money is due, connected to QuickBooks Online, as you can see on the bottom there. It tells you some statistics like when it was created, how often I speak to them. On the right side, you can see things like, in what list are they on if I use MailChimp? Are they on my list, are they on my newsletter list, or are they in some other list? Or I can also add them into a particular list through my MailChimp account. I can see communications, to-dos, comments, all from one page. It's kind of an interesting sort of a snapshot of how the CRM for Batchbook looks at each customer. And this is just kind of like the same screen here with a different customer. But in this one, I opened up the communications, and I wanted to show you in the communications window, these are some email communications I had with her about maybe her taxes or something like that. And then it shows you how those emails get tracked in there as well. Now, when you look at a customer in detail, you can create something called a deal. A deal would be like, for example, if this customer calls me and says, or maybe they don't call me. I am internally seeing this as an opportunity. I'm saying, I think I should do mid-year tax planning. So what I do is I record a deal. I put in there, that I'm going to pitch it. I put there that it's pending, and then I put that I want to close it, in June of this year, and I put the amount. And then all of a sudden now I have a pipeline, and it gives me a platform for me to follow up. Okay, this is sort of just a detail of the email conversation. So, for example, she sent me an email saying, "Are we preparing taxes for 2016?" And then I did that forwarding thing with that email tracking that you see on the bottom, and then it comes into my Batchbook screen. Now, in terms of pricing, so I'm going to, right after this, I'm going to jump into the demo. So pricing of Batchbook is very unique because the other two applications are going to be per user. But Batchbook is a $55 a month fee for unlimited users. You can have unlimited employees of your company dealing with it with a flat $55 a month fee. Where it starts going up in price is based on the number of contacts. Now, I don't know many people that manage more than 10,000 contacts, but assuming that you do, then you will see the pricing scale change pretty much based on the number of contacts. But for the most people, like my Batchbook account has less than 10,000 contacts, so I pay $55 a month. Okay, let me jump into a demo. While I switch to a demo, I want to see if there's any questions. And then let me get out of the full screen mode. Oh, thank you. Okay, there we go. And there's Batchbook. Okay, so I'm showing you this is my live Batchbook account. And I want to kind of show you a couple of interesting things about it is when you first log in, you're gonna see a list of all your contacts. And I just want to show you, I actually took my entire Gmail contact list, my entire Facebook list, my entire QuickBooks list, and I loaded it in there. I have 5,000 contacts. But I can filter them and only see the ones that are in QuickBooks Online, for example. And then I'm going to go into one of my customers here, Andrea, and then I'm going to click on Andrea, and then I'm going to click here on More, so I get to see the entire screen here. And then down here where it says QuickBooks Online, you can actually see it's grabbing the information from QuickBooks Online, and it's going to display whether or not I have any open invoices for Andrea. And I can actually click on the invoice itself, and it will pop up a PDF invoice that I downloaded from QuickBooks Online. So it's actually really, really neat. So the user doesn't have to go into QuickBooks Online to see any open invoices from your customers. Down here, I can click on any of these and see maybe some email conversations I've had with her that I use this special email address that they give me to forward it to them. Okay, and then down here I can see I can put deals together. I can see her Twitter account, and I can see the last couple of things that she tweeted. Like I noticed she tweeted about buying some USB cable for the iPhone a couple months ago. So as a conversation started, I can say, hey, I was looking for a 10-foot cable just like the one you bought in Living Social. How was it? And then your customer will be really, really impacted by the fact that you're actually paying attention to what they're saying. So it's kind of an interesting spin to social media. If I click up here in deals, this is where I can create deals. As I was showing you earlier, for example, this one customer, I had created a deal, and I can put my, where the deal stand, any comments that I have, maybe things conversations I've had with the client about it, whether it's, whether we already pitched it and we're just kind of waiting to follow up, or, if we won it or if we lost it. We can have different ways, and then obviously at the very end, we want to be able to pull a report of all of our outstanding deals, and we can create to-dos, and we can delegate those to-dos to other users as well. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. What I'll do is I'll show you the contact importing screen just to kind of get an idea. This is where I can import contacts from. I can import them from Excel, from CSV, from Discuss, from Eventbrite, from MailChimp, from, I would not mention this one, Google Contacts, and QuickBooks Online. And you can, so it's actually a very interesting place where you can sync contacts from multiple sources and all simultaneously. All right, so that's it for Batchbook. Okay, so let's talk about Legrand CRM. So Legrand CRM is a full-featured CRM system. Legrand has been in the market for a while with their enterprise desktop solution. So they're a very mature CRM program, and CRM is the core of what they do. Their cloud version of their CRM was designed for QuickBooks Online. It's simple to use, but it's feature-rich. I'm going to talk about some of the specific features. It's got single navigation across modules and simple searches. It's got some customization. You can rename the modules. You can create some custom fields. You can't really change the way the screen looks, but you can change some of the terminology to match some of the industry or some of how your customer's workflow works. It's got the keyword tags, which makes it easy for grouping and filtering. You can sync all your invoices from QuickBooks Online, so you can actually see them. You can also group your customers based on financial data. So I can pull a report that says, show me every customer that they bought from me the last 90 days. Or show me somebody that hasn't bought anything in 2 years, and basically allows you to create a customized customer list that then you can later on send a coupon or send some sort of offer and try to win the customer back. It also has a real neat jobs module that allows you to have comprehensive project management, so you can actually track billable and non-billable time spent on jobs. And it has an Outlook add-in, so if any of you use Outlook and you want to have your customer CRM information within Outlook, it's a great utility. So this is what the home screen for the contact screen looks like. And we have the activities, the calendar, the tasks, the opportunities, and the jobs on the right. And as you see on the bottom group there, we have the QuickBooks information. So if there's outstanding invoices, if they're 30 days behind, 90 days behind, that information is in there. Very useful, right? Because a customer may call for support, and then you realize that they still owe you whatever they owe you, and you say, well, I'll gladly do support as soon as we get the account on balance. So it may even help you collect better if your sales staff or your support staff is making sure they're not really answering questions or supporting the client until the client pays. So it's kind of an interesting way of managing that. This is the Outlook app. This is the Outlook plugin. So every time that you write an email, you're actually going to see a couple of clicks here and there that you can press, so you can actually log the conversation in your CRM, and you can also log an opportunity. You can log who you're going to assign it to, and you can assign a task, all from Outlook. Okay, this is what the calendar looks like. So if I have things pending or activities recorded, you can see them all, and then once you click on every one of them, you can actually see the detail per customer. This is what the sync screen looks like. It actually gives you a history of everything that was synced from QuickBooks and Legrand. And remember, the only thing that QuickBooks and Legrand really sync is your customer list and invoices, right? So the user can see if there's outstanding balances or not. And this is what the opportunity screen looks like. So if you create a couple of opportunities, like I'm going to create a potential sale for this product, a potential sale for that product, and you put how much money you think you're going to sell, and then you give it a stage, like we talked about it, here's the sale amount, or the customer says they're very interested, so we move it to phase 2, or maybe we've given the customer an actual estimate waiting to get paid, or we actually got the sale, stage 4. So it gives you a really interesting way of kind of seeing your pipeline based on deals that, or in this case, opportunities that you log in the system. And then this is just another sync screen that just shows a lot more transactions to give you an idea after a lot of invoices have been synced and a lot of customers have been synced, you get to see all the invoices that have been synced. This is what the email template looks like. So if you want to send an email straight from Legrand, you can do that. You don't have to go into your Outlook or to your Gmail. You can send information straight from here. So if you want to send a voucher, a coupon, if you want to send, thank you for your business, or a we haven't heard from you in the last 90 days type of thing, this is a great template to do it in. You can also manage companies or organizations. So as I mentioned earlier, you can have a company that is your customer, or you can have contacts within that company that you're conversating with, because you can have a large customer that has 3 buyers, and you may be dealing with all 3 of these buyers, and you don't want the conversation with one of the buyers to get mixed in with the conversation of a different buyer. Even though it's the same company, you're dealing with people, right? So you want to make sure that your interaction with that particular person is logged in correctly. Okay, and this is a detailed screen where this is sort of an example of a custom field. So there is some customization in this exact example. This is provided to me by Legrand. What they did was they did a custom field for like a sort of a QuickBooks type of consulting firm where they can log, maybe their license number, what kind of QuickBooks do they have, what's the last time we touched their QuickBooks file. So it just gives you an example of something you can use for your accounting practice if you happen to have an accounting practice to keep track of that of all the interactions and all the work that you've done with that customer. And this is a different version. This is when your notes are up. So this is more about looking at the specific notes and look at the tasks that we can do and the tags. The tags are very good. So if your tag is this is a monthly bookkeeping client, or your tag is an annual bookkeeping client, or you can tag it by found on the web or referred by CPA or whatever, different things and it allows you to kind of have an idea for how you'll be interacting with that particular customer. Okay, and this is the contacts home screen that basically shows you everything in summary. So you can see how many tasks are outstanding, how many different transactions are attached to different keywords. So it's real easy and really fast to find information about your customer. This screenshot is for jobs. This is if you create projects and you want to estimate how long it will take or how many billable hours, and you can actually attach your customer's information and your employees' information, and you can also have sort of a time tracking system on it. Now, Legrand is not designed to be a time tracker, so it's not the most sophisticated time tracking in the market, but if you don't want to be dealing with a CRM and some other time tracking system, you can all do it within the same product. Pricing. So the standard version, which is the one in the middle, that's the only one that can interact with QuickBooks. So we were looking at that one in particular, and that's going to be $16 for the first user and $12 for each additional user. And that's also limited to the amount of contacts. So if you have more than 50,000 contacts, you have to go into the Pro Edition. Okay, let's do a demo now of Legrand. So let me jump into Legrand now. Here it is.
There's actually a question around nonprofits and donors, and are any of these customizable specifically for donors?
So the terminology, for example, Legrand, for example, the terminology, let me just log back into my account here. I can change the terminology, so instead of it saying customer, we can have it called donors and stuff like that. However, I'm not sure if what they're asking about is, does it, could you do a donation letter, like thank you for donating, here's your proof that you donated. So if that's the question, then yeah, you can customize an email to do that, and at least Legrand and Method, which allows you to send email from within the software, should be do it just fine. I don't know what else about nonprofit I could answer from there. Maybe you can have that same person ask you specific questions, and then maybe we can bring him in later on. But the answer is, yeah, it's going to work for nonprofit, no problem. For nonprofit, you're dealing with donors, and you're dealing with people that have committed to giving you some sort of contribution, and you want to keep track of them. You want to see how often they contribute, and you want to send them emails thanking them for the contribution and remind them of the next contribution. So you could actually do that for sure with Legrand and Method, because both of them have email functions within it. With Batchbook, I would have to double check and to see if I can send emails from within Batchbook, but I wouldn't see it to be a problem either. So what I wanted to show you is for Legrand, I want to show you kind of what the interface looks like. So I have a new lead from a customer. So I'll click this little plus sign that's over here, and then I'll put my customer's name. So let's say my customer's name is Jose Lopez, right? And then I'll put here Jose Lopez, and then I can everything that's in here, like their title, what company they work for, all this stuff really is optional. What I should always do is have their email address, because most of the integrations like Outlook and stuff like that, you have to make sure that the email is linked or synced with it somehow. So here's my customer's information. I'll save it. In this case, they're not a customer yet. They're just a lead. Okay. And then in here, if I wanted to add an activity, like for example, so I have incoming call. Jose is asking me about tax services. So I come in here, I go to activities, and then I'll put here, in this case, let me just hit close here. I'm going to put here, inquired about personal tax return. Okay, and then I can put any other notes. I can say, well, this was a phone call, and then I can actually assign it to say who actually spoke to them, and then click save, and then that will log let me see, incoming call. And by hitting save, it will log the activity, and I will forever have record of when they called me and what the conversation was for. I can assign this as a task. I can put it on the calendar, put it as an opportunity. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, how that one works. You know, we're making assumption that, you know, we're not walking you through the actual basics of how CRM works. We're just kind of telling you how the software works overall. Okay, the next one is Method. Method CRM is 100% cloud-based, just like the other two. It's designed to work exclusively for QuickBooks from the ground. So it was a CRM software designed for QuickBooks. It could be customizable to be as simple or comprehensive as the workflow of the small business. And the customization part is really where Method has a lot of, packing a lot of punch. Method is the most popular CRM app in apps.com. It has a lot of reviews, and it's 5-star rated. It's mobile friendly, which means that all their pages are adjusted to the mobile screen. They just recently have gone through an upgrade. A selected few of the clients are going to get the new interface within the next weeks, or it could even be days. I don't know the exact full, but the new look, which is the one that I'll demonstrate, very modern, very minimalist. Customers actually like it a lot. Most of the QuickBooks data fields, I would say about 90% of data fields are accessible. So that means that within Method CRM, you can create things that can transfer back into QuickBooks. Okay, and you can also manage non-QuickBooks data, right, like activities and the same things as the other ones. It works with both QuickBooks Desktop and QuickBooks Online, where the other two, Legrand Online, is only for QBO, and Batchbook is only for QBO. They have internal add-on apps that were developed by other sort of power method users, and they're already pre-built for a specific industry, and it has both Outlook and Gmail integration, and it can do customer portals. So you can have a username and a password for each customer so they can log in and kind of see their history and see their invoices and things like that. Here's what the dashboard looks like, and each of these squares is an app. So when you build custom apps, you can actually have custom screens where you can capture specific type of information. These are the basic ones, right? My customers, my activities, my opportunities, my estimates, etc. This is what the customer list looks like. You don't have to have a picture in every one of your customers, but if you do, you can absolutely do that. It makes it really easy sometimes for the employees to either delegate work to each other by using the picture, or knowing who the customer is and remembering the customer based on the picture. You know, how you will get the picture of your customer, you know, hopefully, you know, you'll get one from Facebook or something like that. That's a whole other story. But that gives you a good sort of an idea of what that looks like with all the headshots in there. Now, once you actually log into your customer, you can actually see not log in, but you actually click on the customer. You can see the details of it, and it's grouped based on activities, estimates, invoices, and opportunities, similar to Legrand. You can see all the contact information down there. And you can also see, if you see the little bar in the middle, you can see the invoices in QuickBooks related to that particular customer. One real unique thing about Method is all the QuickBooks transactions in detail can be created in Method, and can be edited in Method. So if I create an invoice in QuickBooks, in Method I can open, edit, and change it and sync it back into QuickBooks. Now that's optional. You don't have to have access to that. As the administrator, you choose whether or not you can do that. But it's a very interesting take because the salesperson can make a quick correction to an invoice, or the salesperson can create the estimate from within Method and then sync it back to QuickBooks Online. And then in QuickBooks Online, you will have the estimate with the exact item name, the exact customer name, the exact value, everything syncs. So the true power on Method is the ability to sync most of these QuickBooks fields. And then you can also track your opportunities. So these are your deals, your opportunities. So you can see, how much money you have in prospecting or estimates, how much money you have per salesperson that pending to close, how many proposals are out there pending for signature or approval, and how many are being negotiated. So you can actually track of everything that's going on with your customers, statistically speaking. And this is just sort of the same screen, just a little bit more details of the customers with that contact information. Now you can also create new activities. That's what the screen looks like. So if I wanted to log an incoming call, an email, I would do it through here, through this screen here, and I'll show you through the demo. And this is basically a report of all my opportunities. So if I can log in every single potential sale that I've spoken to a customer with, I can open any of these and convert them into sales or convert them into an invoice once the opportunity is closed. And then they also have a real neat smartphone app. Not a smartphone app, a smartphone version of their website that logs in and it makes everything adaptive. So the same screens that I showed you, the invoice screen, the activity screen, and the contact screen. So I'll go back here, go back to this is the contact screen on a regular website, and then this very first one is the contact screen on a smartphone. So that's what I meant by mobile friendly. It adapts to your iPhone screen. But what that means is that anybody on the road, for example, Hunter, my client, Hunter James, when I left their office, I wanted to have a record that the customer was inquiring about moving from monthly services to weekly services. So the best thing I can do is log it in there, assign it to my follow-up person, and then have the follow-up person see that activity in the report, and then they know that they have to follow up with the customer and reschedule me to go weekly, right? So it's for collaboration. It's incredible. And the other real neat thing is you can do invoices, you can do estimates, you can pretty much do anything you customize a screen to do from your phone or from your iPad, because it's all mobile friendly. And the minute you hit save, it syncs with your QuickBooks Online or your QuickBooks Desktop. Okay. The pricing for Method, it's pretty straightforward. It's $25 a user for their CRM core product, and it's $40 a user for the one that can be customized. So if you want to create your own applications or have access to any customized screens, customized drop-downs, customized menus, that would be the $40 a month option. Okay, let me jump in and do a demo. And while I jump into Method for demo, I'm going to check for questions real quick.
We do have a couple questions.
Sure.
So one of the questions was handling emails and attaching emails to contacts in the CRM. I know you covered that with Legrand. Does MailChimp do that? And did you cover that for Method?
So, okay, well, hold on a second. MailChimp is a database of a whole bunch of contacts grouped by maybe the type of contact, and it's utilized to mass email lists, right? So maybe your question is about grabbing my contact list from Method and synchronizing it to MailChimp so MailChimp can send a mass email. Was that really what the question meant?
Yeah, I think it's around, does Legrand integrate with MailChimp? I think you talked about Outlook particularly, right? They had a,
right.
and so does,
so
yeah.
I don't want to say no, because I don't want to say no, but I don't want to say yes, because I actually don't know. I haven't integrated Legrand with MailChimp. So maybe we should get up, if that person's really interested on that, send a text saying that you are, and then maybe we can have a Legrand person automatically do that. When I go into the integrations link, it doesn't give me an option for MailChimp. So I'm going to have to say no, because I don't see it. But if there happens to be one that Legrand knows about but I don't know about, then, because right now the only thing you can integrate based on the interface that I can see with Legrand in particular is SmartVault and QuickBooks. I know for sure that Batchbook does MailChimp, and I am 99% sure that Method does MailChimp as well.
They do, and they also have a plugin for Gmail and Outlook as well.
Okay, you're talking about Method, right?
Yes, I'm talking about Method there, yep.
Yeah, correct. I'm actually going to demo the Gmail app because the Gmail app is incredible. It's one of the coolest things really out there, so I want to kind of just show you how that works so you're going to get an idea for what's really nice about a Gmail integration. Because Outlook it's the most common software out there that people use for email, but believe it or not, a lot of people are getting into Gmail, and Gmail integration works really, really smooth. Was there another question, Amy, before I go to the demo?
There are, but I'll wait till you're done with the demo.
Okay, so let's say, for example, same sort of circumstances before, right? Somebody calls me to inquire about some services. So right here from the home screen, I would click on New, and I would click on right there under Activities, I would click on New. That would take me to the activity page. I'll select whoever my customer is, and that's all synchronized with QuickBooks Online. So I'll select my customer here, and then I'll put here, inquired about monthly bookkeeping services. Okay, and then basically I just hit save, and that's it. Now it adds it to my task list, right? So if I ever want to go into my activity list, right, I can see it straight from here. So that's kind of the neat thing about doing stuff from a single screen, and then you can actually see all my activities. So once I click on it, I see all my activities, and at that point, I can change any of these activities. I can mark them complete. I can mark them closed. I can delegate them to a different user, and I can give it a different status. And basically, it's just a real easy-to-use task manager. I'm going to go into my contacts here so we can see all of my in this case, my QuickBooks customers. I'm going to go into the contact screen and show you. These are all my QuickBooks customers. For example, here, Andrea. I'm going to click on her, and it will take me to my detailed information about this customer. And I just want to show you how this information syncs with QuickBooks. So down here it says they have a balance of $150. So where this comes from is, I'm going to jump into my QuickBooks here. Whoops. Let me log in. I'm going to go into customers, and then I'm going to go into Andrea. Okay, and this is based on that. This is based on one particular invoice that's on QuickBooks Online. So this invoice from QuickBooks Online is showing up in Method as an open invoice. And again, it may be interesting, useful information to know if your customers owe you money before you answer their phone, or before you reply their questions, or before you deploy a service technician to go out there, or whatever industry you happen to be on. So this information about your customer and whether they owe you money or not, I think is very important. Also, many people call, hey, how much do I owe you? Hey, how do I pay my bill? So this is an interesting thing too. I can also build a portal. So I can actually take this particular customer, and it'll take me a little longer to build a portal, but basically it's as easy as clicking on this share button. Let me just click there. I'm going to show you. I won't log into the portal itself, but if you click on this share button here, it will take you to the process of doing a portal, and you can send your customer this link here. So I can, next time my customer asks me for how much do I owe you, just reply to them with that link, and then they'll be able to log in, create their own account, and every time there's an open invoice, they can see it from there, and you can even link your merchant services so they can pay you straight from there. So sort of like a mini bill.com. Okay, that's how much I want to show you about Method. And I'm going to jump in back into oh wait, no, sorry, I was going to show you the email real quick. So I'm going to show you, I got an incoming email from that particular customer. And this is one of the real cool things I like about this. So I'm gonna look up at that incoming email. So I'm gonna pull up an incoming email I have from this customer. So then she sends me an email saying, what is the fee for a personal tax return? Right? Real typical thing where we get an email with some sort of service inquiry. And if you see down here, this little bar that says METHODCRM, this is the Gmail integrator. If I go to show details, I would actually see my QuickBooks balance straight from Gmail, and I can actually go to activities, and I can see any previous activities, and I can actually turn this conversation into an opportunity. So I can go click on opportunities, and I can click on add opportunity, and basically it'll create a task, an opportunity for that particular tax return, which at that point I can decide who I'm going to assign it to and where am I going to follow up about it. And as soon as I do that, when I go back into my method CRM, then I'll be able to see that opportunity in there. So I really wanted to show you how neat the Method CRM built-in app for Gmail was. Okay, I'm going to jump back into my PowerPoint for the final notes into this. I'm gonna pull up the CPE keyword for the people that have to leave at the top of the hour, and then while this CPE keyword is up, I'll take some more questions. Get the CPE keyword. There we go. So Amy, was there more questions?
Yeah, there are a couple questions around the themes of the emails and like how they are synced. Are they put in Dropbox? Are they attached to the contact information? That type of thing around kind of the management of emails in terms of the CRM app.
Okay, so depending on the CRM app, so for example, Batchbook, in order to have email conversation in your CRM software, you have to forward that email to that particular mailbox that they give. Okay, with Legrand, you can set up your email credentials, so you can send emails from there. But to get your email conversations from Gmail into Legrand, you can't, but you can do it from Outlook. So you can actually, every time you have an email conversation with the Outlook add-in, you will have to click on Add, so it adds the conversation in there. So none of these really log into your Gmail mailbox and harvest the information from your Gmail, right? Because that would be kind of intrusive. I know these apps were developing that, or they're always looking to develop that, but I haven't really seen it actively work from that perspective. So all of them required for you through the in the case of Batchbook, there's no add-on, you just forward it. But in Legrand and Method, you would have to assign that to the customer with the built-in add-ons, and it would add that email conversation. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think that'll help. Yep.
That will help. Okay. All right. So we're when I close in the polling question, we're getting ready to just kind of wrap this up here. So I want to give you my high-level summary of of when to recommend each of these CRMs based on the circumstance. So number one, if you have a customer or a business that's very social media involved and it's not really looking for highly detailed amount of data to go back and forth with QuickBooks, just open invoices and that sort of thing, then you want to go with Batchbook, right? Because we can take all the social media apps that they're currently using and share information. If you're looking for a simple, not heavily customizable from a look perspective or from a workflow perspective CRM, but you want to have a solid core CRM functionality, we would definitely recommend Legrand. And if you're looking for something that really requires to take a lot of QuickBooks information and go back and forth and have very customizable screens and change the workflow of how your employees input information, then Method CRM would be definitely be the best recommendation. And you can manage all sorts of data, QuickBooks data and non-QuickBooks data too, because it's so customizable. You can make it do things beyond what it was designed to do. From a high-level pricing, Batchbook is $55 a month for unlimited users. Legrand is $60 a month for the first users, and then 12 to 15 per additional user, depends on which version if it's the standard or the pro. And Method is $25 for CRM only and $40 for the fully customizable that we spoke about. All three of them have a 30-day trial. And I want to kind of walk you through some tips for first-time CRM users. So I do a lot of consulting overall with my clients, and CRM is one of them. And I recommend a solution. It could be any of these three, and it could be any of the other ones that are in the market. But the first couple of things that we talk about, strategically speaking, is we say, the first thing is we have to let in your employees of the strategic benefits of managing data in CRM. The users need to see this as a tool that makes the job easier, not a nuisance. Most users, employees, sales staff, when you tell them you now have to type in all your conversations in a system, they see this as more work, not less work, and they're typically non-compliant. And it's garbage in, garbage out, right? So if you don't get the entire sales staff to capture this information, capture it completely and capture it accurately, then it's going to be garbage in, garbage out, and there will be no benefit for implementing this. The other piece is sales managers, the marketing team, the CEO himself or herself has to play a lot of importance on the quality of the information, right? So not just look at the pipeline or how many deals haven't closed. Don't just focus on the negative parts of, well, you know, you have 13 leads and only 2 closed. Take a look at the completeness of the information and the consistency. Observe users, put the data in there, and make sure we understand what's being captured. And the last thing is, this is more for a consultant. So if the opportunity for a consultant is customize it, personalize it, simplify the process, make the QuickBooks, the CRM user, make them do such simple tasks, even if you're capturing less data, but you're capturing it all. Just give a simple task so they have to do the least amount of keystrokes, and it's a pleasant experience, and they see this again as a tool that makes their job easier, not a nuisance. That's the first group of tips. The second group of tips that I tell you is a lot of people don't answer these basic, don't ask the basic questions. When a lead comes in, ask questions like, how did you hear about us? Who recommended you to us? What product and service are you more interested on? Okay? Do you want me to give you all this information that we spoke about in writing? Do you want me to summarize our conversation via email? From time to time, we send coupons and promotional pricing. Would you like to receive it? When would you like for me to follow up when we speak about that? All these questions have to be part of your sales process in order to capture it, right? How do you hear about us? Who recommended you to us? What was the initial product you wanted? If you capture all this information and then have an excuse and a reason to contact the customer again, then at that point, CRM will be truly effective. Okay, so I wanted to see, was there any more questions? Amy?
Is there like an average time you would guess among these CRMs that it would take to get it set up?
I would say from a consultant that understands QuickBooks well and kind of has an idea of what type of information you would like to go back and forth, because they're not battling so much with the integration, it would probably take about 3 hours to set it up. You know, some of the potential issues you can have is if the customer gives you a list of leads or customer list in Excel and it's not cleaned up, sometimes it may take more time to clean up a list to import. But in a nutshell, if you have a pretty clean lead list or customer list, or you're just copying them from QuickBooks and really that's it, it will take 2 to 3 hours max to set it up. And then obviously the training and the follow-up, which could be a couple of several hours. But once you go CRM, you can't go back. You wouldn't understand how your business even functioned without CRM. It becomes so vital for management to understand what are people doing all day, right? So, you know, often managers ask themselves, what are my employees doing all day? And if you don't have a way of quantifying really what they're doing and who they're speaking to and what they're speaking about, it's hard to make really high-level decisions. Okay, I wanted to put one more CPE question up, which is, have you visited the apps.com website lately? And then we have about a minute left, so right after the CPE question comes up, I'll just show you the apps.com website real quick and kind of give you an idea of how to search and surf around it, and then we'll be done. Amy, were there more questions?
One more. Was there any kind of limitation on the communications, email communications saved to the CRM?
What do you mean by a limitation?
Like how many emails could be saved within a CRM? One of these CRM?
So none of these CRM softwares have posted a limitation on communication. So I would say for the time being, it's going to be, the answer is going to be unlimited. However, you're probably going to have a speed issue, right, if they're not designed to have 10,000 emails per customer. So I would say I would be very careful about just saying unlimited, but you know, really it would be a matter of testing. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to jump into the apps.com website for a second. One thing I wanted to say is this coming November, Intuit is running their second QuickBooks Connect conference. The first one was phenomenal. It was fantastic. It was one of the best trips I took work-wise for a very, very long time. And this year they're doing it again, November 2nd through the 4th. So go to QBCon 2015 to learn more about it, and they'll send you some information about when the registration opens and the tracks and all that stuff. There will be you know, celebrities, there's accounting training, there's small business training, there's all sorts of great things. Okay, so to wrap this up, I wanted to show you the apps.com website just in case you haven't visited. The good thing is that only 20% of the people haven't visited in the last 90 days. So for a lot of you, this is just a review. One thing I'll tell you is there's over 800 apps. Amy, is that right? Was that the latest number, 800 apps?
Well, on apps.com, there's roughly like 190, but there's over 800 that connect to QuickBooks. They're just not all necessarily listed here.
Okay, so over 190 on apps.com, and basically almost every single tool out there, whether it's a CRM or advanced reporting or expense management, can all be done through here. And the great thing about it is if you pick any of these, like for example, I pick Batchbook here, it gives you a detailed explanation of what the application does. Most of them have a video, pricing examples, how much it costs and how the 30-day, how did the trial work. And then you basically add it to your apps, to your QuickBooks Online. All you do is you go to Get App Now, and it'll basically walk you through the process. And none of these apps take more than 15 minutes to get connected to QuickBooks. So, and I recommend everybody to get the process started by starting with apps.com. So go to apps.com, choose the application, click on the company that is related to it, and then basically within minutes, 15 minutes max, you will have up and running, and then you can test it. And all of them have a 30-day trial, so it's good to check it out. All right, so I wanted to close with that, and I want to say thank you very much. If there's no more questions, we can end it now. Amy, are there any more questions or no?
Nope, we're good.
Okay, thank you very much for attending this webinar. I hope it was helpful, and thank you very much for spending the last hour with me during tax season, and happy St. Patrick's Day.